All right, so my name is Mei Long, and I'm a product manager. Today we're going to talk about PLG. How many of you are doing PLG right now? Or Customer 360, or user behavior analytics? Some. So hopefully, if you are an engineer in this crowd, we product people, we don't just pull it out of our butts. Like, oh, here's the feature, go implement it, right? There's actually data that's backing up. So what we're trying to accomplish here is not to be too opinionated. So everybody has an opinion, and we try to implement our features and do the best that we can based on data. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how we built this with Trino, and this is a huge topic. I have 30 minutes, and I'm going to scratch the surface a little bit. And if you have any questions, etc., I'm here afterwards, and we can have a chat. Oh, by the way, my parents are watching. Hi, Mom and Dad. Love you. All right. So we're getting very subjective here, very abstract. What does PLG mean to you, right? So we hear this word a lot thrown around. We don't quite know what it means. Like everybody has a set of things of what they mean. But there is the wheel thing that everybody might have seen, like what you're supposed to do. But we try to keep it really, really simple at Upsolver, and we just want to focus on value. Okay, so we keep asking ourselves, what kind of value are we providing our users? And this is actually really, really hard because if you look at Zoom or Slack and those type of tools, they're very narrow. The value people can see immediately. But for Upsolver, it's a really complicated tool that makes it easy for our users. So what that means is to show our user what the value is really complicated as well. So for some users, maybe CDC from Postgres. For some users, we have a user that's doing 5 million events a second. So stability and being able to do exactly one's processing and also do total ordering of things, those are really, really important to them, right? So also like being able to observe into a S3 object might be really important for some of our users because it's hard, right? So how do we show that in our product? Like they log in, how do we show these features, being able to join in Windows, with how to manage state store when we do the joins? All of those things is really hard to show the value once people log in. So I'm going to share with you what our journey is. And the goal of this talk is not really teach anybody how to do PLG, but really share some of the lessons learned that we did, and hopefully it makes it easier for you all to do this. Yeah. Okay? All right, so really important to lay the groundwork. So there's two schools of thoughts. I had a really passionate discussion with my friend in the insurance industry this morning. And it's like, okay, do we collect everything? Or do we do the traditional data warehouse way of doing things, which is like this Irwin model where everybody asks a question, and then we design our model based on the traditional data warehouse of things, right? So personally, my preference is collect everything if you can. But that being said, there's a caveat to it. There's you need to design your framework properly. Okay, what that means is that when you're engineer, implement a feature and put the events collector on there, they have to define that event properly, or as best as they could. So if you're just collecting events left and right and not being able to define them properly, well, what you're going to get is kind of a crap downstream, and nobody's going to be able to use it, right? So it's really important to have a standard right off the bat to build the framework where you have collecting these events as much as you can and define them as well as possible so that everybody is on the same page right from the go, right? So this is really important. So also ask yourself, when you ask these questions, does it provide value to your users? So you can have all these numbers thrown around, dashboards, et cetera. What are you going to do with that, right? It's great to know these numbers, but are these numbers actionable? Do I know, based on these numbers, a button is not in the right place in my product? Do I know the joins are too slow, that people are timing out in my queries, whatever this happening according to these metrics, what are you going to do about those things? Right? So make sure that whatever that you're collecting, whatever question that you're asking, they're actionable. Okay? And also, North Star metric. How many of you all have a North Star metric? Some. Okay, so they're really hard to define. Everybody has an opinion on what it's supposed to be, and then they evolve when the product changes. We have 2 generations of the product. We literally released our new generation of product like 2 days ago. So our North Star metric completely changed, right? So understand things might evolve over time based on what your product is happening to your product, okay? And also, super important, data latency. So, okay, let's talk. Do you all know what Upsolver is? Maybe not. So maybe I should have done this a little earlier with the value. So we make data pipelines super easy. So basically, it's a SQL-based tool. The idea is any data practitioner can subscribe the data from the source or from the raw data, which is all on S3 or any object store. And then we work with all of that. We do all the orchestration. We do the observes. We manage all of somebody said like global views. So when they have inconsistent views of data when they come in. So we are streaming first, but we also support batch flows as well. So it makes it super easy for you all to do do the pipelines basically. All right. So that being said, it's really important that we have a data latency, really good data latency. And what that means is that when something happens, so we don't really have users' data PII. We don't know who they are because we're really respectful of their privacy, but we do know, so we don't know their queries when they run them. What we do know is what kind of problems they may have. We have their error messages. Right? So if we see something, the events come in, like, okay, the past few minutes, this person encountering connection issues 4 times. We know they're struggling, right? We need to have some action to reach out to them in our community immediately and help them through this problem. So it's really important that we have really good data latency so that we can interact and address those issues from our users as quickly as possible. So that's just one of the use cases. And another thing that's important is the coupled and self-service architecture. We don't dictate how users are supposed to use their data. The data product people, the owner, should be the people that own the data product, right? They understand the business rules. I'm not going to go out and define those business rules for them. So we provide the raw data, and our solution architects, they know the customers best, they know their users best, and they're the ones that are going to self-service the architecture and transform that data and subscribes that data. Same thing with our marketing and sales folks, right? So if they can write queries, they can subscribe the data. So it's really important that we have a staging area, we have a target area, so that people can transform data themselves. All right. So data quality, data quality, data quality. So back then, in the old days of things, data warehouses, there was an incident. I was talking to my godmother about this. She said, well, you know what, like we accidentally give this huge communication company a $10 million discount. And so we're using Oracle, it's garbage in, garbage out. We didn't know it was a $10 million discount. So we definitely, it's better to not know than know the wrong things, right? So I really want to stress this. You want to make sure your data is in good quality. If it's not in good quality, build your pipeline in a way that's fault-proof. What that means is that you can always replay your data from the beginning. Okay, don't ever lose your raw data, replay your data, because I can guarantee you if there's a human touching your data pipeline, something is going to go around downstream, right? It's just human errors. It happens. So really important that you do data quality because you don't want to end up with a Rashomon type of scenario where you have various versions of truth and nobody can agree on anything, right? So important. All right, so this is our classic product-led growth. I'm going to talk a little bit about this and what we did wrong and what we did right and why we did this route. The classic, I joined Upsolver 2.5 years ago, Series A. So Series A company, that's just me as a product person, nobody else. And I was doing product work. I was also doing documentation. I was doing GDPR compliance, SOC 2 compliant. I don't know, documentation that, and also PLG fell in my lap. One person doing all of that, right? If you're in startup, you know how it is. So what I did was like, okay, PLG is huge. I worked for a company where we did customer 360 at the time, and the problem with customer 360 was that we had a huge team of data scientists, and these data scientists had such a horrible problem subscribing data. All right, so with this new architecture, what I really wanted to do is get an intern from UC Berkeley, data science major, really bright girl. And I said, look, I know that you don't have a lot of data experience, but you're smart, we can figure this out. Let's get you a tool. So the tool that we chose for this particular use case is Amplitude. Anybody used Amplitude before? No? One? Okay. So the reason we chose it is because I had one intern and we want to build PLG. How do we do this with one intern? And we went with the Amplitude. The good thing about Amplitude, I would say, it was very easy to use as long as there's a big red star next to it, as long as you use it as it's intended to do, which is group users into various cohorts and run analytics on it. Right? But if you want to slice and dice that data, it's not easy anymore. You have to use a query engine again and all sorts of things. So another good thing about Amplitude is it did provide a handrail. It kind of talked about what PLG was, how you're supposed to get your North Star metric, all of those things. Those are really nice experience that they had to share with us. The things that didn't work for us, there are a lot of unanswered questions because we cannot slice and dice our data, can't handle changes, so it didn't handle upserts. So upserting is important because our users change. So when the users change, how are we going to have the right data if it didn't handle upserts? So we have to reload all of our data, which is not great. And also, data quality is a problem because it can't handle those changes. All right, so I'm going to do a quick demo of this is our current generation of PLG, which is streaming data from Kinesis. We're collecting our events and dump it into Kinesis. We're subscribing it and have this staging area that's S3. We're creating a materialized view, doing a join, which is a lookup of the 30 days of users, and then creating a glue catalog, and then loaded everything into Trino. Eventually, we're doing a QuickSight dashboard on top of that. All right, so I'm just going to quickly show you this really quick. All right, so hopefully this is big enough. Oh, good. Okay, so the first thing, this is all SQL-based. Everything that we do, we decided to dog food this whole thing, and it's all SQL-based. And we're creating connection here, Kinesis. We're creating connection for Galaxy, Trino, and we're creating, this is a S3 connection. This is a glue catalog connection. And then what we're doing here, so you can see Galaxy right here. So as far as data quality goes, I highly recommend you all to resolve any issues at close to upstream as possible. And the reason that is that you don't want to end up with a bunch of inconsistencies downstream. So try to resolve all of your stuff upstream if you can. And so we have this raw staging table. So we created this table. This is the raw staging table. And this is the continuous stream that loads to that table. And the reason that we're not really doing any columns definitions here is because the columns are being inferred automatically. So it's a schema evolution. It just takes the column as they exist. And the job is being streaming directly into that particular Galaxy or Trino table. And then what's happening here is I can show you really quick. So this is the table that is streaming into. And so this is your staging table. The raw table, we don't touch it. This is basically your data engineers or whoever, they're going to take care of this part of the pipeline. And from here on, anybody can use it. So like business users, your data scientists, your data analysts, anybody can use from here on the data that's in the raw stage, right? So from here, what we're doing is we're doing a materialized view. That's my lookup table here. That's getting the last 30 days of the users from the raw table. And then I'm doing a join between that one and also I'm joining with the staging table down here and loading into my target table right here. So this is basically my analytics. So this is my funnel. The left join here is 30 days. I'm doing the raw event, left joining with the 30 days of data and getting the results from there for the funnel. And one of the things that's really cool is that I can kind of get a bit of analytics here where I can see like all of my data in here, which is Hive, the database, and I can see the raw staging table down here. That's user, let's see, user ID here. So like technically there should be no nulls in this particular thing. So we identified there's nulls coming in, which is a data quality issue. And then we went out and fixed it. But you'd really want to make sure that your raw data is correct. If not, take action and fix that right away. All right. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, so once it gets to start joining them and loading, continuously loading to the Trino table, this is basically this is the glue catalog integration. I think somebody else demoed this before. So this is just a glue integration. And then this query usually takes about 21 seconds. And as you can see, the views are managed for you. So if you're doing compaction in the background, we're doing compaction in the background and also the repartitioning of the data and also updating the glue catalog, all of that stuff automatically for you. So that none of this stuff is manual. Okay, so which is really nice. Oh, by the way, this is the function that we applied here, which is to mask the user ID, which is the email for the user right here. Okay. All right, so after that, what we did is, yes, you can see this is the compaction that's happening. The Parquet is being written into various into various partitions, and as the stream of the data being updated, being observed, etc., it's just going to update this partitions and being compacted, and all of the stuff is managed for you. And if anything goes wrong, all you have to do, well, what we have to do, this is monitoring, all we have to do is basically do a from whatever and just stream it to a different table or the same table, and it fixes the problem right there. So, make sure it's fault tolerant. Okay, so that's something that we do as well. Let's see here, where is my... there it is. Okay, so this is end product. So, so for a product, what we have noticed here, this is a demo data, so it doesn't reflect it too realistically, but we had this problem where people sign up and they don't launch a template. So we have these templates with real data to get people started, sample data to get people started, but they're not launching it, right? So we iterate our products on a daily basis. We basically have meetings on the daily basis and try to figure out why that is. And we're not just doing these data points. There's other things that we're doing. So we're doing Hotjar. Anybody familiar with Hotjar or Full Story? So basically, we record user behaviors as well. We also conduct user interviews as well. So it's going to be a combination of everything because people are not binary. It's not they do one thing or the other, or it's because one thing or the other. So we have to get all of that data from various channels to determine what the problem may be. Okay, so that's why we aggregated all the data here. So what we realized why they're not launching it is because they had too many choices. We give them too many templates. So that's a problem, right? Like they have too many choices and they don't really know what they're supposed to do. And then they just move off of the platform. And, that could be a problem. And then we have A/B testing and all of those things come after that, right? We have a hypothesis, and we have solutions, and we A/B test those. All right, and some of the other things is like they land in a template, they can't find the run button. Right? They're not running the queries. They go into a template, but they're not running the queries. Well, that's because our run button is not really very significant. So we A/B tested some solutions, and now nobody's having that problem. Right? So like these are the things that you really need to look at your data, conduct interviews, and those things that do repeat itself, you want to make sure they get high prioritization and make sure that they get resolved immediately. Okay? All right. So this is basically what we do for product-led growth. I think I'm standing in the way between happy hour and everybody's ready to get a drink. But I just want to thank you all for joining us. And we do have a community Slack. Feel free to ping me or anybody else on the community Slack if you have any questions about product-led growth or Upsolver or anything in between. So thank you all for spending some time with me.